Well, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, especially to this one because it's not a fishing video, but it is related to fishing. If you own a boat and you are a DIY kind of an owner, as I am, because I do all of my repairs, and this one is going to be a doozy. I'm not even going to lie. I've been procrastinating on this one for quite a few trips now, and if you noticed a lot of my fishing videos when we're out, there's duct tape all over the vinyl window just to try to make it by on the last trips, and that's what I mean by procrastinating. So if you saw that,
because we all know if I'm going to do it, we ain't getting fish.
it was me purposely delaying the need to go fix it. So today we're not going to do that anymore. It's the 2025 fishing season, and we're going to do it, and I'm going to do it myself, primarily because I was quoted upwards of $2,000. Are you kidding me, guys? $2,000 plus to get this thing fixed. And I said, what is the cost? Why is it so expensive? Well, they said it'll be about $500 to $700 for the vinyl material. It's a 30 gauge material, 2 rolls necessary, plus $150 to $200 in labor. And that's only if they don't run across any hiccups. About 6 to 8 hours worth of work. So adding all of that up, we're talking $2,000 plus to get these 3 panels right here. Check this out. 3 front facing panels and 2 side panels. And they want $2,000 minimum. So I said, no way. I'm doing it myself. I'm not going to be any good at it. I don't know if I'm going to be any good at it at all, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to do the best that I can to save $2,000 because that's gas money, folks. That's a lot of money to be putting away. And I can probably save quite a bit if I just put in a little bit of work to do it myself. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I spent quite a few hours researching to make sure that if I'm going to do it, that I'm going to do it by the book. And you're going to follow me on this journey. If you're watching this far into the video, then you're probably anxious as well about fixing your own window. And I hope that I can provide some kind of comfort and guidance as you decide whether you want to shell out your hard working money or your hard earned money, or if you would decide to spend a little bit of time to do it yourself as well. I'm going to break down all of the material that's used, at least in my setup, and it's probably going to be mostly true for your setup if you're a marine environment as well. I'm in salt water, and all of the numbers and the size of the needles and the materials is probably going to be in line with what you're using. So I will say this: use my video as only a guide to give you the confidence that you need to get the job done, or at least give you the gauge to decide whether you want to do it yourself. I'm choosing to do it myself to save that money, but use my video. And I hope that I can help anyone else who's trying to make that decision as well, to shell out the money or do it themselves. So that's what this video is intended to do. It's not going to be a perfect video, but it's going to be something that you either can get something from or not. And if you do, you gotta shatter that thumbs up, give me a like, subscribe, comment, and let me know how you're feeling about doing it yourself too. And then let's get it started. Let's stop messing around, or let's stop goofing around. All right, folks, well, in no particular order at all, I'm just going to show you here that here is the roll of 30 gauge clear vinyl. I received this from Amazon. There's 2 different brands that you can get. One is the really, really expensive stuff, but this is the mid-grade 30 gauge marine window, and it's going to do the job just fine, especially for a DIY project. If it works out and later on I can change this window out if I want to, or after it wears out, then we'll go with something a little bit better grade. But I think this is perfect for what I'm trying to do and trying to achieve my own goals of getting that duct tape off of all this stuff. And let's just get it and do it the right way. The next thing you're going to need is this basting tape, and this is the 2-sided tape that's going to hold all of the binding tape together. So I'm going to go and show you the binding tape, and this is black binding tape. They sell this in rolls of 25, 50 feet or whatever you need. I ordered just enough to get this job done, and as I fiddle through, there's the roll binding tape, 25. So I ordered 2 25 footers. It's probably more than I need. The next thing I have is what they call Keder Welt. So this is the Keder Welt. It took me a long time to even understand what the heck this was. I never would have been able to find it if I didn't just Google researching this. So what is this? Well, it's the part that allows you to hold the actual window to the roof with a I don't know the piece that holds it together, but if I can find that name, I'll let you know. I didn't have to replace mine, and it's the only reason why I didn't know that off the top of my head. But Keder Welt, and you really just buy this by the foot, okay, and get what you need. That's more than I need for the job, but it's extra just in case I goof off and mess around and mess up. Then I also have zippers, and this is straight from Sailrite. I have an 18-inch size 10, and this is pretty standard in a marine environment, size 10. Double pull, because you're going to need to be able to pull from the out and the inside of your vessel. And I ordered 2 of those, and it's perfect for me. If you have longer zippers, or if you have odd size zippers in your setup, then you can get the unfinished zipper, and you can size it yourself, and you can work that on your own. I'm just fortunate enough that a size 18 is exactly right for that corner. That's exactly size 18 for me. My only challenge is going to be here, where I don't have that size 18. But if I remove the old zipper, I think I can get away with repurposing this one. We'll take it off, and we'll reuse it. And if it doesn't work out, then I'll find another zipper, and we'll do that. But I don't think I'll need to. So I got zippers. Did I miss anything for you guys? Oh, I don't have it shown, but it's the size 20 needle. Okay, it's a 135/17 because my Sailrite sewing machine says that I can use a 135/17 size 20, and that's plenty enough for leathers and upholstery. You know, especially going through this kind of material, I probably don't need a size 20. From what I understand, maybe 18 would do just fine, but I'm going to keep a size 20 on there so that we can get the job done for later and kind of use that as a standard for me. I'm probably never going to sew anything ever in my life, ever again. But if I do it right the first time, this is going to last plenty of years. So there you have it. If I missed anything, I'll add it to the video later. Oh, and I did forget to mention that I'm using Tex 135 thread. And this is pretty typical for canvas work, but I did want to make sure that you knew the size thread that I was using. Also, I'm going to mention that the bobbin thread can be half the size of your main thread, but because I didn't have any bobbin thread, I decided to use the same size bobbin thread for the lower stitch as I did with the top stitch. So going forward, I am going to half this size, and I ordered some from Amazon, like pre-rolls, and I'll see how that works out. But for now, I'm utilizing the machine and loading up my bobbins as needed, just to get by, because I don't have any. So I had to do something. I wasn't going to wait around. All right, we're going to try to roll this out as much as possible, and then we're going to try to size it. Well, you can see I was trying my best to utilize as much of this material as I can because it's not cheap. And I laid the 2 windows out, and it looks like I can fit 2 windows within this space. Let's try to utilize as much of it as possible. And so I'm going, it's a 54-inch wide roll. It looks like I can go maybe 38 inches out. Alright, so we're going to try to get this button off, and to do that I have titanium drill bits, so I'm going to pick out one size, I think the 1164 It's probably gonna work just fine. Okay. Just pop it off. See that? You didn't want to do that in the house. And then we'll do the same thing for the next one. Like I said, I'm only going to do a couple, and you guys will get the idea after this. There it goes, comes right off. And now I have about 16 more to do. It does help to have a tool like this. I don't know the name of the tool, but if you guys can see it, it literally just slides under and it helps rip it off so much easier. Slice it right off. One last one. Boom. That's just like that. Now, just want to get as straight as possible. I may need to heat this up to help with the process. So what I'll end up doing, because this is a lot of duct tape that's causing this to be a little bit malformed, I'm probably going to cut this off, and then I'll use a heat gun to kind of give it a little bit more flexibility. So stand by. So I'm going to heat this glass up so that it forms a little bit better and is a little bit easier to work with, and it's as flat as possible. And I have this heat gun to help me with that. I was looking at which heat gun to get, and this was not that expensive, and it looks like it's got a lot of heat output. I figured it was only 25 bucks. I might as well get one that's gonna last. So here's the settings. You just turn it to, I've never used one of these, so I'll turn it on, gauge how hot I think it needs to be, and then we'll just start blowing it. All right, that should do it. All right, so this is where we're gonna need the basting tape. It's this double-sided tape that I'm gonna use to lay down around the frame before we lay down the next window. I'm just gonna do my best to find a good spot, like right here. And we'll just lay it right over the existing. So before I rip the zipper off, I'm going to mark this just so I know. This is B for back, and up here would be F for front, F for front. That way the zipper gets installed the right way. Okay, and then I have a line to exactly where I'm going to resew. Thread ripper. Okay. Almost reminds me of the AMD processor, the AMD thread ripper, which is what I have to power up my machine. I'll just slide it underneath the threads like that, and then watch how easy this is. It literally just starts to remove the zipper. How crazy is that? I was like, how am I gonna do this? Well, this is how. That's it. Can't get the rest, but that's it. That's how that tool works, just like that. I was trying to pick at it one thread at a time. I said, there's gotta be a tool. And I know a lot of you people who sew are probably, yeah. Hey, I'm a fisherman. I had to figure that out on my own. Okay, nobody told me what to do. But now I'm showing you what to do. What would have taken almost 5 hours to do thread by thread took me literally 10 seconds to zip right through. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to remove the back side of this tape that allows one side to rest and get into position. Okay? So once we're happy with that, then we start working on all of the corners. So let's do that now. Okay, Hopefully you saw that. All right, let's get sewing here. I've already set this and staged it up. I'm supposed to like wind this just like this, and then I'm supposed to be able to pull, and then you should see the thread's coming up. Yeah, okay, fine. There you go. Bobbin thread's out. I'm gonna try to sew now. All right, well, here I go. I'm gonna be sewing my first stitch right over the same line. I'm just gonna follow it. Here we go. Shutting the foot down. Here we go, folks. Sewing. Here we go. Wow, okay. I'm gonna pull that stitch out, folks. I'm gonna cut it and take a look at what I've done. Well, I'm gonna stop my adventure right there because I keep blowing fuses. I do not know why this machine, every time I start sewing, I'm blowing fuses. I know I have the bobbin set up correct. I know I have the thread path correct, but each and every single time I step on this silly foot pedal, I blow a fuse, and I'm trying to solve that issue. Here we go. Why am I continuously blowing fuses, man? I don't get it. It doesn't make damn sense. I believe it keeps blowing a fuse because that keeps happening every single time. Like, why? I do not understand why that's even happening. Makes no sense. So annoying. What I've learned is when the needle punches through something very heavy, which is not supposed to be heavy, it's got a really slow start, it'll blow the fuse almost immediately. And it took me a while to understand what was happening. I still don't know how to resolve that because the material that it can sew through is thick once it gets going, but if it gets a slow start to punch, then it'll blow. And I had to go buy packs of fuses from Napa Auto Parts. It's a 2 amp, 20 millimeter by 5 millimeter, 250 volt. And I literally have packs of these. I never thought I'd go through so many fuses, but I don't understand why it has such a hard time punching slow initially through a very thick material. But as I said, once it gets going, it could punch through it, but it just can't punch through it slowly. I don't know. Don't understand that. But that's it. That's how you replace the fuse. Plug it back in, turn the light on, and now we're back in business. But it's annoying as hell. All right, time for the reveal. The sewing is done. This is the old layer. New layers in the back. Let's do it. Let's do it. So I cut the old part just so I can get access to it. And there you go. just to get it started. I'm using the seam ripper. All right, now you got to stick something into here to break the two pieces, because remember, there's old and new. My seam ripper. This is very, very sharp. It's like a razor blade rather than the scissor. The scissor is sharp too, but it's more precise. All right, and for the final window reveal, I'm just gonna go like this. Goodbye, old window. Hello, nice, clean, brand spanking new window. Bam. There you have it. Woo-wee. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and following along. That was not as easy as I had hoped, but most of it was due to tension issues and learning how to deal with the top tension and bottom tension threads. It wasn't easy, but if I had to say that if you could do this on your own, I would say you can do it on your own if you have some level of knowledge of sewing and the principles of top thread, bottom thread, bobbin thread, main thread, tension top, tension bottom. You don't even start sewing until after you decide the project itself, the thickness of your material. Then you have to templatize that thickness and work it out. Test it on a couple pieces of material, make sure that it actually sews properly, and then you can go after your target material. I learned the hard way. I had a whole bunch of different areas where I had medium thickness, small thickness, and I was getting erratic sews. I noticed that if I had just I dialed the sewing machine in to just say, flat two-piece material, then it would just stitch perfectly fine. But the moment I got into some of the thicker materials where the Keder Welt had to be sewn in, then I got some erratic and I had to adjust a lot. I messed up a lot. But I didn't know that you have to adjust according to the thickness. I really didn't. But for all you sewing people, you do this every single day. I can't even imagine how you guys do it. I don't know if you have multiple sewing machines or multiple templates and you know off the top this is the thickness or the hardness of the material, and you've already set and dialed and you've labeled your numbers, from tension. Because I didn't know there was a bobbin tension plus top tension and bottom tension. But anyway, I'm beat. I am so tired. I am so happy that it's done. It took me quite a bit, mostly because trying to figure out each thickness for every single window was different, because some of that material was 2 layers of material, then it was 3 layers of material. I tried to preserve a lot of what I could preserve, and I think that's what bit me, is if I started from scratch and had just a simple 2 or 3 layer thickness, I would have dialed in the machine for that thickness, but I was sewing over multiple layers of thickness, and it came to bit me, or it came to bite me. But we did it. Take a look. There you go. That is the work of a champion. That's right, folks. I did it myself. I sure did. I learned a lot along the way. Now, you want to know if it was hard? All right, let's talk about that, because hard is relative to understanding. Now, a lot of the work, maybe 50 to 60% of the work, was preparation. and then maybe 10 or 15% of it was sewing. But if you understand the thickness and you dial in the machine, I think I could have knocked this out in maybe 15 minutes, the sewing part of it. But when you're dealing with variations in thickness, that's where it comes to bite you. And I didn't know that. So going forward, I know now to use a certain tension for a certain portion of my window, use less tension for a certain portion of the window, and I've documented that very thoroughly for myself. But I hope that you have a rough idea of how to handle this job, and it wasn't that difficult. It was tedious. It was a lot of repetition. It was a lot of testing and trial. Every thickness had to be retested. Every thickness had to be retested. Every thinness had to be retested. And it was like, are you serious? 2 layers and 3 layers. I had to change the dial up, down, tension. And that's all it was, is just playing around with the tension. And that's the biggest thing about getting a proper sew is you got to play around with the material and the thickness of the material. And of course, you have to have proper needles. And I definitely had that. I just didn't have the proper knowledge of tension on material. So that was something that I learned. I enjoyed this, guys. I think overall, maybe 4 hours worth of labor for me personally. 4 hours worth of labor. Was it worth it? Would I do it again? Absolutely. Because the next time my window goes bad, I can do it on my own. And I totally understand now how to do it and not get charged an arm and a leg. And it cost me a very small fraction of what I was quoted. So I'm very, very happy with the outcome. A lot of the stitches weren't perfect, but they were acceptable. Now, if somebody's getting paid to do this, I would say that their stitches are probably going to have to be perfect before they deliver to the customer. But a lot of my stitches were fine. Some were a little tiny bit loose, but not to the point where, it would be worrisome. But the stitching was fine. I'm still beat. I think I'm going to close this video out. All right, well, that's a wrap. I have to show you exactly what was done. Let me turn this camera around. And for the reveal. Here we go. Everything is perfect. I'm talking perfect. Perfect. I'm going to put one button on here. That should take care of that. But I've done it myself. I'm very, very happy with the outcome. Look at this fit. It's nothing more satisfying than doing things yourself. And now I know how to replace my own again in the future, if something should ever happen like that. Okay. Everything was measured. Framework followed. This was the big one. But I wanted to save this one button for the final. And that's it. Well, just like that. Look at this. And the inside, it looks great too. Now, how long it'll last is going to be dependent on the material that I chose. And I chose a mid-grade. Hopefully it lasts several years. We'll find out. Well, I hope you got something out of this video. It wasn't a step-by-step video, but it was something that gives you an idea of the level of effort it would take to do this on your own. And I'll finally get to see you on the water, and this time, not wet. I'll see you guys later. See you on the water.